We need thousands and thousands and thousands of more acts like this from our elected officials to show that we have that fight in us, that we're not going to roll over for the democracy we believe in.
Your point is that maybe you shouldn't do anything, but that's actually not what Republicans have done in the past. I mean, they had a whole Tea Party movement that was that same kind of anger, basically saying to their base, get up and do something. And that powered the moment that we are in right now.
This is the epitome of what's wrong with politics. You go on the Senate floor, you're grandstanding to the 10 people watching C-SPAN, with all due respect to C-SPAN, all night long.
We have the world's richest man offering $1 million to people who sign a petition who say that they want to see activist judges removed from the court.
What is the end of Western civilization?
The future of Western civilization all over this world is in the balance right now.
Scott Jennings and Abby Phillips have a heated exchange in regards to deporting illegal immigrants and this ridiculous narrative that Abby has on how conservatives are handling free speech. Check the video out now. This is going to be a decent one.
The town hall stuff has happened, right? I mean, and there is something happening out there where at least, you know, I know, Scott, you believe that these are all AstroTurf, but even if you believe they're AstroTurf.
No, I don't believe that.
You've said that before.
I don't think they're all AstroTurf. Some are, but I think they're basically Democrats.
It's representative of some kind of anger, wouldn't you say?
I definitely think it's representative of anger in the Democratic base. There's no question about that. And I think Booker's moves tonight are representative of the fact that there's a vacuum at the top of the Democratic Party. There's no leader. The only leader that really exists is Jasmine Crockett. She's the one you see on TV most often. Booker's trying to, fill some of that vacuum. I'm puzzled by his language, though. What is the crisis? You have a president of the United States that won the national popular vote and a landslide in the Electoral College. He is sitting, according to CBS News as of yesterday, at a 50% approval rating. What is the crisis? I mean, he's effectively executing on the policy agenda that he ran on, and he's sitting at about 50%, which is far higher than the last president. If this is a crisis, what was the Joe Biden term? A mega crisis? I don't know.
I think the crisis is that we're seeing people deported without due process. We're seeing the very fundamental aspects of our democracy at question. That's what people are scared about. And so they want to see, I think the one thing you and I can agree on, Scott, right now is the Democrats aren't doing what they need to do. Can we agree on that?
Well, I don't know.
I think we can all agree on that.
Let me put it this way.
You raise a good question because I think, and look, my party's gone through this. You lose, and then everybody wants you to do something, right? What are we going to do? Sometimes there's not much to do until you get to the next election. That's the next great opportunity.
That's where we disagree, because I think people are looking to their leaders in a time of fear, in a time of crisis that so many Americans right now are feeling. And so when they look at D.C. and they see people, what they perceive to be rolling over, they get even more scared. So look, what Senator Booker's doing in a vacuum going to solve everything? No, but it's a start. We need thousands and thousands and thousands of more acts like this from our elected officials to show that we have that fight in us, that we're not going to roll over for the democracy we believe in.
I also think that, I mean, to your point, Scott, your point is that maybe you shouldn't do anything, but that's actually not what Republicans have done in the past. I mean, they had a whole Tea Party movement that was that same kind of anger, basically saying to their base, get up and do something. And that powered the moment that we are in right now.
I think the crisis that he's talking about is their 28%, 27% approval rating within the Democrat Party. And Scott is right, is that nature abhors the vacuum, and he's looking at this as an opportunity. But the problem is, this is the epitome of what's wrong with politics. You go on the Senate floor, you're grandstanding to the 10 people watching C-SPAN, with all due respect to C-SPAN, all night long. Like, there are major elections tomorrow. You have Wisconsin, you have 2 Florida elections. Go on the campaign trail, get involved, get into the communities, like grassroots organize. That's what the Democrat Party used to be so good at. Now it's become the party of the elites and no longer of the people.
I think that's frankly absurd. And I also think that there's probably a fair amount of grassroots organizing happening both in Florida and Wisconsin. I think that the crisis that Senator Booker is referring to probably has something to do with the fact that we have the world's richest man offering $1 million to people who sign a petition who say that they want to see activist judges removed from the court. I think the crisis that Senator Booker is talking about is a president who, take him however seriously you want to, says that he would entertain the idea and has explored the possibility of a third term. I think the crisis that we're talking about is just a violation up and down the government of both laws and norms that we have all, frankly, taken for granted.
So Booker is not the only person talking about a crisis. I mean, you brought up Wisconsin. Here's Elon Musk in Wisconsin, basically saying that this election could mean the end of Western civilization?
Scott Jennings is right. What is the crisis at the moment? Because, like Ashley Hayek made a great point in which they both talked about how Donald Trump's approval rating is higher than it's ever been, whether we're talking about his previous administration or this administration. People confirm and agree with the job that he is doing as president. The only obvious problem that we see here is the wishy-washy nature of the Democrats, the paradoxical nature of the Democrats. Democrats were all for deporting illegal immigrants when Obama was president. But now that Trump has been president, somehow, in some way, they seem to have a problem with it, which makes no sense. They're saying that it's against their due process. It's not against their due process. They are here illegally. Case closed. There's no need to have some type of court hearing for a person in which you checked to see if they have illegal status or not, and they don't. Case closed. Time to go back.
Whichever party controls the House, it to a significant degree controls the country, which then steers the course of Western civilization. So it's like, I feel like this is one of those things that may not seem that it's going to affect the entire destiny of humanity, but I think it will.
And that seems a little hyperbolic to me.
Well, I don't agree, but I do think he was addressing.
You don't agree with Musk or?
No, I don't agree that it's hyperbolic. I think the future of Western civilization is very much in the balance right now, and I think it's one of the reasons the American people.
Because of the Wisconsin State Supreme Court.
I think all elections right now are vital, and he was appealing to, and he knows the issues with the Republicans right now. We've gathered all these people into the party who are low propensity voters. They vote in presidential. They vote when Trump's on the ballot. Sometimes they vote when Trump's on the ballot and leave everything else blank. And he's trying to rally them to understand that all elections have consequences, whether you're in Florida or Wisconsin or you're voting for President of the United States. I think that message is a vital message, and it's one of the reasons I think Trump won.
I want to understand it, though. What is the end of Western civilization? Explain that.
I mean, it is the future of Western civilization all over this world is in the balance right now. When you look at what's going on in Europe, they're throwing political opposition in jail. Free speech is under assault everywhere you turn. I mean, everything that we have built in this country, the tenets of Western civilization, the fundamental values that the country has been built on, Republicans and conservatives believe are under assault. The November election was the beginning of the pushback on that assault, but it's not over.
You mentioned, but you mentioned free speech, which we already know that people are being deported on the basis of not being able to have certain types of speech that this administration doesn't like. I mean, those are things that are happening right now in this country. You're talking about Europe, but that's happening here.
Yeah, well, I would remind you that over the course of the last several years, the left in this country has undertaken a massive effort to suppress the speech of conservatives. And to this day, the message from the left is,
I think
if you don't say what we like, we will engage in violent acts against you.
I'll let you and Dan
up.
in a second, but let's just concede. I'll concede. Maybe the left went overboard on speech, but you also have an administration literally searching code words and canceling grants based on words that are being used, that are trying to stop news organizations from covering the president because they don't want to use certain words that this administration prefers. So you have to be kind of fair about when speech is being punished on both sides, not just when it offends your political affiliation. But Dan,
look, I think that's precisely right. The reality is, if we as the United States want to perceive ourselves to be the beacon of what Western civilization should be, I think there's a lot of reason to be very afraid of what we're seeing right now. When we talked about the deportations, we talk about the lack of the respect of co-equal branches of government. People feel this, that it scares them. And when they see things like the whole Signal Gate last week and no one has faced a single consequence, you want to talk about people checking out? People have checked out because they say this is a president who doesn't hinder any consequences on his people when they make a mistake. This is the Secretary of Defense who is not treating sensitive information of American soldiers at risk with the proper care that it deserves, and no one is facing consequences. That's when people check out and realize that their democracy may not be what they thought it was.
So again, as we see, the left is just completely hypocritical. When Obama did deportations, it was fine. But now that conservatives are doing it, it's somehow a problem. And then you have Abby here trying to make this weird acknowledgement that conservatives somehow are against free speech in the same way that she says the left has gone too far, which is complete lie. As we see, Abby here is just being an absolute liar. Donald Trump was not trying to suppress any speech of the news. What he did do is he said, you will not come into my office and not call the Gulf of America the Gulf of America. You're not going to come in here and call it the Gulf of Mexico and think you're going to come into my office. That in no way, shape, or form is suppressing speech. You cannot stop the news from saying whatever they want. They make lies and say whatever they want all the time. The bills and everything else and funds that the government has been cutting off is not because of speech. It's because they're saying women can somehow be men and men can somehow be women. And these things aren't true. And the president does not want to perpetuate lies like the left does. This is absolutely insane. We hope you liked the video. Make sure you also subscribe. We have more videos like this coming up. See you on the next video.